whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So off we go to Vegas. It's a road trip, and it's a big one. Final one outside of the conference. Matter of fact, final road trip outside of the division. Final game outside of the division if there isn't bonus football. That said, it's a big game, a chance to get back to 500 on the season, and a chance to really make a run at the division, not just the wild card. We know we're in the wild card mix. We look at the rest of the NFC landscape, and the wild card is as wide open as it's ever been. The difference between the 6th seed and the 13th team in the NFC is probably one game. So 2 max. So we know we're in the wild card mix to stay. You know, no matter what happens, we're in the wild card mix until the very end, whether we make it or we don't. But if we want a realistic shot at the division, and it's an outside shot, and nothing's guaranteed to us, we got to find a way to get it done on the road in Week 13 versus the Vegas Raiders. And I'm going to talk about how we can do that later on in the show. We got some big injuries, okay? And this has been the theme of this season all year long. Next man up. We've had to endure injury after injury after injury at critical positions, and guys have had to step up. Last week, our 4th string center had to step in and essentially play the entire game. That's what we've done. No kicker, no problem for this team last week. These are the things we've had to endure. Now we're going to have some significant injuries, some guys out. We talked about this already. We'll reinforce those things in the next segment. I don't want to harp on the specific injuries, but it's the next man up. And we may be counting on a Wendell Smallwood in week number 13, a guy that hasn't played a single snap for us this season. We may be looking at Curtis Samuel and saying, hey, gonna have to up your reps. Gonna need you to step into a J.D. McKissic type role. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe they go to some different looks and some different formations and different things to offset the loss. But at the end of the day, guys are going to have to step up. Will there be another offensive line combination? Will we see Sadiq Charles this week at guard? Very possible. We saw what happened when Landon Collins left the field late in the ball game versus Seattle. Someone's going to have to play. That guy, more likely than not, is going to be DeShays or Everett. What kind of play will we get from Shays? I don't know, but it's the next man up. And as Terry McLaurin said, the Raiders don't care about our injury situation. We don't care about theirs. No one cares in this league. Everyone's got injuries. Nobody cares. Find a way to get it done. That's the overarching theme this week is, look, we're banged up. I get it. And we're getting some guys back. We may get Ricky Seals-Jones back this week. We may get Tyler Lawson back at center this week. We may get some bodies back, but we're losing guys as well. You know, and these aren't long-term injuries. Guys will be on the mend. We may get these guys back next week, but we'll have to make this road trip without them. Next man up, figure it out, find a way to get it done, find a way to get back to 500 and give yourself a chance to compete in the NFC East with the Dallas Cowboys. That's what this game is all about. Next week's game is going to be huge no matter what happens in this game. But you want it to be an even bigger contest with bigger ramifications, with far-reaching consequences that potentially see us getting back into that divisional race. You have to beat the Raiders. They're there for the taking. No one believes still. 3-game win streak, that's cool. Yep, you beat Tampa. Whoa, didn't see that coming. You beat Carolina. They're a mess. Oh, and you beat Seattle. They're about to implode. We don't respect your 3-game win streak. Find a way to get it done. They haven't bought into what we've done all season long. We don't need to be worried about that now. They'll come around eventually if we keep winning. Here's another opportunity to do that Next man up, find a way to get it done on this last road trip outside of the division. Let's move on to in other news. And we're going to take a look at the injury situation because that's the biggest topic of the day. You know, Washington signed a fullback. A lot of you got excited. We signed a fullback. He's on the practice squad, guys. Like, don't expect Alex Arma to come here and have an immediate impact, if one at all. Okay, we've had these discussions. You guys have gotten worked up about guys that have been signed late in seasons before, like Lamar Miller last year, signed right around this time last year. Did not see the field in any capacity last season, okay? So just relax, okay? I know some of you lose your shit when we start running the football. Oh my God, you would have thought that someone offered you $1 million. You just hit the jackpot. Relax. I know you're excited. Some of you lose it when we start running the football. At the end of the day, we'll see what happens with the run game. We'll see what happens with J.D. McKissic's absence. And I'm going to tell you right now, Ron sounds like they're prepared to use Wendell Smallwood. There's no window dressing there, okay? Sounds like Jarrett Patterson, who I thought would be the biggest beneficiary of this injury, may not be the biggest beneficiary. It may ultimately be Wendell Smallwood. We'll see. He's been here before. It's not like we don't know what Wendell Smallwood brings to the table. We know him from Philadelphia, but he was also here in Washington a couple of years ago. So we know the guy is capable. We'll see if he gets an opportunity and what he does with it versus the Vegas Raiders. But speaking of which, let's take a look at the injury situation for both teams. The final look at both teams' injury situation heading into Week 13. This is a big game. You know, the Raiders are looking to get back into it in their conference. They're probably going to have to find a way to win their division if they want in. It's going to be tough to win the wild card, get a wild card, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. They're right there knocking on the door. They need it just as bad as we do. Let's take a look at the injury situation for both teams. So, of course, we start with the good guys, and no surprises really here. There is one that is very concerning. We'll get to that one in a second, but Landon Collins out. We talked about that. I told you I didn't think he was going to play this week. Not a surprise. J.D. McKissic out with a concussion. I told you it's rare that a guy gets a concussion and plays that next week. And to make matters worse, the game was Monday, not Sunday. So it was a small possibility, minute, that J.D. McKissic would play this week. I had already ruled him out after he got injured. It was just good to know that he was okay. I think he'll be back next week. We'll see what happens, but he's out in this game. Again, no surprise there. Wes Schweitzer, I told you, we won't see Wes for 3 weeks. This is the first of at least 3 weeks of no Wes Schweitzer, more likely than not. So we'll see what happens with his situation. He could improve vastly and be back next week. Highly unlikely. I think at the earliest, we see Wes Schweitzer, and I think I've said this already, Philadelphia game, first one at Philadelphia in 3 weeks. That's the first time I think we can see Wes Schweitzer. But I actually think it's the second Cowboys game, I think I've said this already as well, at Dallas, that Wes Schweitzer will probably be back and available for this football team. So not a surprise that he's out this week. Benjamin St-Juste was a surprise on Wednesday when he showed up on the injury report with a concussion again. Third time he's been in protocol. He's been on it so many times. Ron has lost count. Ron thought it was only 2 times. This is his 3rd time, Ron. And I'm glad the reporter didn't back down when Ron said it was twice. He's like, no, Ron, it's been 3 times. Either way, you feel for the kid. I don't know, again, if there was a new concussion that was sustained or if this is, these are lingering effects from a previous concussion. Either way, it's not a good look for Benjamin St-Juste. He's out. We're not surprised there either. The one that is a bit surprising is all the way at the bottom. Remember, we didn't have an injury with Eric Flowers coming out of the game. We get to Wednesday. He's not on the injury report at all. And then Thursday, mysteriously, he shows up as a DNP with a foot injury. Now Friday, he doesn't practice either. Ron did say that he's pretty confident that Eric Flowers can go. He's like, it's really just a pain tolerance thing. You can play with the injury that he has. So I think Ron essentially just challenged his manhood, and indirectly, not like he did it purposefully. What that says to me is Flowers is going to play more likely than not. If Ron says, hey, you can play with that type of injury, in football, it's a tough guy sport. If the coaches think you can play with an injury, generally you play with that injury. So Eric Flowers more likely than not is going to play. If he should not be able to go, if that thing worsens or he doesn't feel good about it come game day, then Sadiq Charles is in. Next man up. We just had that conversation. Next man up. I like my Sadiq Charles inside anyway. I told you, I have no problems with Sadiq Charles playing. I just don't want him at tackle. I like my Sadiq Charles at guard. And if he has to play, I feel confident that he can get it done. That's the kind of coaching we have. That's the kind of depth we have. That's the kind of mentality we've had all season long along the offensive line. Next man up can get it done. And I think that will happen if Sadiq Charles has to step in. But let's hope Eric Flowers can go and isn't compromised if he decides to go. As I don't want an Eric Flowers at 50%. If he can't go at the Eric Flowers level of play that we're accustomed to seeing, then just let Sadiq Charles give it a run and we'll get him next week. But Eric Flowers is questionable. That's one to keep an eye on. I think he's going to ultimately play. If you listen to Ron, sounds like he's going to play. But again, what his body tells him prior to the game will be instrumental in whether he plays or not play. The other guys that are questionable, Tyler Lawson, I told you I don't think he's going to play. So him being a limited participant for the second day in a row is huge because there's a chance that he's not guaranteed to play. I am going to stick to my original theory here and say he doesn't play, or he's available, but he doesn't start. How about that? That he's not going to be inactive, but he won't start. They may go with Keith Ishmael getting his first NFL start, but Larson will be available in the event that something goes awry. That's how I think that situation may go. But if Larson feels good enough, they're going to start him. Because remember, with Keith Ishmael, especially with Eric Flowers dealing with an injury, Keith Ishmael, more so than Tyler Lawson, is your backup interior offensive lineman. He can play all three interior positions, whereas Larson is really just strictly a center. So they may ultimately err on the side of caution with Keith Ishmael and just having him on deck just in case Eric Flowers can't go or he gets injured during the game. Knock on some wood real quick. And they have to bring in Sadiq Charles. Then you want to have the safety net of a Keith Ishmael waiting in the wings in case something were to occur. So they're going to go heavy on offensive linemen in this game, more likely than not. They're going to have extra guys up just in the event, especially if Flowers goes. But you want to be on the safe side, especially with Larson and Flowers both dealing with injuries, both being interior offensive linemen. You just want to make sure you got enough guys in case of an emergency. So Larson is interesting. He's questionable. I don't think he's going to play. We'll see what happens. I could be wrong there. I hope I'm wrong there. Curtis Samuel, questionable. He's going to play. Barring some kind of catastrophe, he'll be out there for the second consecutive week. Only the second time he would have played in back-to-back games this season. He feels good. He feels the best he's felt all season. Let's hope that translates onto the field. Once again, never, ever trust a man with two first names. And then Ricky Seals-Jones. This is a pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting him until next week against Dallas. He's practiced all week long. He's trending towards playing. Again, that would be a huge boost for this offense if you can now have those two tight end sets really be impactful. Not to say that John Bates wasn't an impactful player, but he's not Ricky Seals-Jones in the pass game. So if Ricky Seals-Jones feels good enough to go and he can contribute, that's going to be another weapon on the field to an offense that's continuing to add weaponry at the skill position. So interesting dynamic here with the injury report, but no surprises other than Eric Flowers, and I think he's ultimately going to go. As we transition to the Raiders situation, no surprises here either. We talked about Carl Nassib, their defensive end. I told you he didn't play last week. He's not going to play this week. He's out. Patrick Owasso, we talked about him. Baltimore Raven free agent in the offseason, big-time pickup for them. He's out with a hamstring. We were expecting that. Darren Waller, I told you they were going to do the same thing the Broncos did to us prior to the bye. Darren Waller isn't going to play in this game. Just like Von Miller was never going to play against us in week number 8. But yet the Broncos paraded the entire week that Von Miller may play. Why? Because you want us to have to prepare for Von Miller. Same thing with Darren Waller. He's not playing in this game, and they know that, but they're not going to rule him out. Why? Because they want us preparing for Darren Waller. It's the right thing to do. It's the smart thing to do, but he's not playing in this game, and that brings a smile to my face because he is the one guy that could tear us apart in this game that we could have no answer for. You take him off the field, they still have other tight ends. Okay, Foster Moreau is very capable. He's not Darren Waller, however. So that's a big injury for them, one that we need to take advantage of, and we'll talk about that when we get to our keys to victory. Deshaun Jackson with the calf muscle, he's questionable. He's playing. Saw him at the podium the other day. He's going to play. I'm not worried about him. How much will he play? Don't know. Nick Kwiatkowski, questionable with an ankle. He's going to play more likely than not. Kyshawn Nixon, full participant. He's going to play with an ankle injury. And then down at the bottom, Josh Jacobs. He's just like Antonio Gibson. He's on the injury report every single week. He always plays. He'll be playing in this game as well. Everyone else, you can see, not even listed, so they're going to play. So they're only going to be missing 3 guys, more likely than not. But 2 of those 3 guys, in Nazib and Waller, are huge, impactful players that they're going to be missing on that football team, and that should be a boost to Washington. So really quickly, I don't really have a lot to say about what was said at the podium today. Ron did talk about some injuries, and I talked about him, referencing the fact that Wendell Smallwood might actually play a bigger role than we might have initially thought. And he said, look, that's a guy that I think can handle the J.D. McKissick, role. He has a skill set that is very similar. So I'm starting to think that Wendell Smallwood could see the field and see it quite a bit in this upcoming game, depending on how things shake out. So that was something that was a bit of a revelation from Ron. He also talked about Eric Flowers, and he pretty much said, hey, it's an injury that you can play with. So that leads me to believe that Eric Flowers is going to give it a go. So those are the 2 biggest nuggets we got from Ron during his presser on Friday. Travell Wharton, the assistant offensive line coach, talked, and all he pretty much talked about was the depth and how they prepare these guys. We've rolled through so many different combinations this year. We've rolled through multiple tackles. We've rolled through multiple guards. We've rolled through 4 centers to this point. So we've had all these different offensive line combinations, and we've kept the party going. And so he essentially just talked about things that they do to get these guys prepared, and how that next man up mentality has permeated that offensive line. Let's now transition to behind enemy lines. This is where we talk about our keys to victory for the upcoming week. This is week 13 versus the Raiders. Let's talk about the keys to victory. We always start on the offensive side of the football for Washington's offense versus the upcoming team's defense. No different here. We're going to talk about Washington's offense versus the Raiders' defense. The keys to the victory starts with the offensive line communication and domination. That's the first key to the game for the offense. Offensive line communication and domination. No matter what 5 are out there, because we don't know if Tyler Larsen is going to be able to suit up at center, or if it's going to be Keith Ishmael getting his first career NFL start. We don't know if Eric Flowers is going to be right next to him on the left side, or if it's going to be Sadiq Charles. We don't know if it's going to be a combination of Larsen and Charles, or Larsen and Flowers. We don't know if it's going to be Ishmael and Charles, or Ishmael and Flowers. We don't know what the 5 combination is going to be. Whomever is out there, they have to communicate well. We can't have breakdowns where you thought this guy was going to pick him up and he thought you were going to pick him up. Nobody picks him up. Now it's a free run at Taylor Heineke. These guys have to communicate not only in the pass game, but also in the run game. We want to keep the momentum of the run game going, and it starts up front with the big nasties. So we need offensive line communication, and hopefully that communication leads to domination. We've dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides, really, during this 3-game win streak. It needs to continue. That means keeping Taylor Heineke upright. That means opening up holes in the run game. That means making sure that if you've got a 6-man protection, all 6 guys that may be coming on that particular blitz, or if they're running a stunt or a twist, all of these things are communicated and picked up. That's the first key to the game. The Raiders have gotten pressure on the quarterback this season. When they don't, they've been exploited. If we protect, we will have opportunities to take advantage of what is a very, very questionable Raiders secondary. The next key to the game offensively for Washington is we need Heineke Ultra, 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 not Heineke Light. Now, last week, we got Heineke Genuine Draft, and that was enough. We want Heineke Ultra, though, okay? We want Heineke Ultra. We want the Ultra. Genuine Draft is good enough if you complement that with a dominant run game. But if the dominant run game doesn't exist, we need Ultra. And really, I just want Ultra every week. But we can't have Heineke Light. Haven't seen that guy in a while, and I really don't want to see that guy show up again. Give me Heineke Ultra. We need it. Got to have it. If we don't get it, if it's Heineke Genuine Draft, we may be able to get by with that. I need Heineke Ultra, not Heineke Light. The next key to the game offensively, explosive plays that lead to points. I want 3 of them in this game. And when you think explosive plays, you're usually thinking Terry over the top or something like that. It doesn't have to be a pass. It could be a run. It could be Antonio Gibson getting loose for 47 yards down to the Raiders' 12-yard line. It could be a screen to Antonio Gibson that he pops for 62 yards down to the Raiders' 7-yard line or for a touchdown. It could be a Taylor Heineke scramble for 38 yards. It doesn't have to be in a conventional sense. It could be a Terry McLaurin 52-yard pass interference penalty that puts it to the Raiders 6. I don't care what form it comes in. We need some explosive plays. The last 3 weeks, everything has been meticulous. It's been methodical. It's been 3 on first down. It's been 4 on second down, 3rd and 3. It's been 4 on first down. It's been 5 on second down, 3rd and 1. It's been a repeat of that over and over again. Rinse, wash, repeat. Okay, now we need to inject. I'm not saying that's not okay because we got to convert on 3rd downs. But you know what would be nice? A couple of explosives. I'd like to have 3 in this game. And what I term an explosive is anything over 30 yards. We need 3 of them. And if we get 1, we need to make sure that drive ends in points. Whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, makes me no difference. I prefer touchdowns, obviously, but points are important. When we get explosive plays, those drives need to end in some type of points, okay? So the next offensive key to the game, jump them early. Jump them early. This is a Raiders team that really is predicated on success and seeing success and then having that success instill confidence in them. This is a team that has struggled this season when they don't score points. In all 5 of their losses this season, they've scored less than 20 points. Not a single loss did they even sniff 20, okay? When they scored 30 or they scored 31 or they scored 34, they're winning ball games. And in these games, they build confidence as the game wears on. The more confidence they gain, the better they play, the harder they become to beat and keep out of the end zone. When they score points, they're a tough team to beat. You don't want to get into a shootout with these Raiders. We're not built for that. If we hold them down, we'll have them right where we want them. It's the offense's job to jump them early. Jump them early. Get on top of these boys and don't let up. And if they start to see the game getting away from them, they start to press offensively, then the defense gets opportunities to take advantage. I think the offense can jump them early and really put the Raiders on their heels. If they can do that, we'll have a chance to win this football game. And then finally, last key to the game offensively for Washington, control the ball, clock, and scoreboard. All right, so that's a nice confluence of things that lead to victory. Control the clock, the ball, and the scoreboard. So obviously, when you hear control the ball, you're thinking time of possession. I'm talking about make sure you maintain possession. No fumbles, no turnovers. Control the ball. Yeah, I'd like to convert on 3rd downs and stay on the field and eat up clock, keep the defense fresh, all the things we've done during this 3-game win streak. But I'm talking about protect the ball as well. Control the ball. Don't fumble. Don't turn it over. Don't throw any interceptions. Protect Heineke. Don't get hit backside. Ball comes out. Make sure we are controlling the ball, the clock, keep it running. Keep it in our favor, keep the defense off the field, keep the Raiders defense on the field, and then scoreboard. If we're up and we're playing with a lead, we are seeing that we can be a dangerous team because we can run it. It's hard to run when you're chasing a team from behind, when you're down 10 points in a game. Hard to keep the run game prevalent. Control the scoreboard, and it allows you to do the things we've done these last 3 weeks on this win streak. Those are the keys to the game offensively. Now let's transition to the defensive side of the football. The first defensive key versus this Raiders offense, and this is the most important one. And if, again, like I said against the Buccaneers, it's not as important as it was against the Buccaneers. Like, that was dire, but it's close. Get to Derek Carr. When he's comfortable and he's allowed to sit back there and survey the field, he's dangerous, okay? We can sit here and call him a marginal quarterback. I told you he's upper, half of the league. He's right in that conversation with Dak Prescott, and I think Dak Prescott's a top 10 quarterback. So he's right around that, 11 to 13 range, probably 14, somewhere in there in the league is Derek Carr. He's really good. And if you give him an opportunity, he will carve you. Okay, and there are enough weapons, despite not having Darren Waller, there are enough weapons on the field that they can exploit us if we don't get to Derek Carr. We have to rattle his cage. He does not like pressure. He does not handle it well. Look at the Giants game where he threw 3 interceptions, including a pick 6. He can struggle and will struggle if you apply pressure. If you don't, he'll do what he did to Dallas. And they'll score 30-plus points and they'll win. Get to Derek Carr. The next key to the game defensively for Washington, make them one-dimensional. If you want to get to Derek Carr, the best way to do that is to put them in 3rd and long situations. The Raiders haven't been a dominant run team this year. They've tried to run it, tried to be consistent in that regard. They haven't been what they were 2 years ago on the ground. So you can stuff their run game. You can make them one-dimensional. You can get them in 3rd and 7 and 8 and 9 and force Derek Carr to have to drop back and make something happen. That's possible. I want to see us do exactly what we did to the Seahawks. We took their run game completely out of the mix. And we said, Russell Wilson, you're struggling right now. Beat us. He couldn't do it. I'm asking us to do the exact same thing to Derek Carr. Stop the run game, make it irrelevant, make it obsolete, make Derek Carr beat us. And if he does, you tip your cap. I don't think he can. Make him one-dimensional. Next key to the game defensively for Washington. Limit explosive plays. Okay? Here's a situation where the Raiders feast off of explosive plays. We saw last week they had 3 pass interference penalties for 96 yards against one guy. They feasted on explosive plays via pass interference. Deshaun Jackson has a 69-yard catch and run for a touchdown. They feasted on explosive plays. This has been their formula all year long. They want explosive plays in the pass game, and if we aren't careful, they'll get them. We gave up one last week due to a miscommunication. We gave up one late in the game that led to it almost being a tie ball game. We have to communicate on the back end, and we have to limit the explosive plays. Make them earn it. If they go on a 15-play drive and it ends in points, so be it. That's not what the Raiders are built to do. They're an explosive, quick strike type of offense. If you make them earn it, there's going to be a mistake in there somewhere. Okay? Limit the explosive plays. Make them earn everything they get. Nothing cheap, nothing deep. You know the rules to the game, then play. The next key to the game, hold the Raiders to 20 points or less. Hold them to 20 points or less. I've already explained this. In their 6 wins, they average 32 points per game. Okay? In their 6 wins, they've scored over 35 of those 6 games. 5 of those 6 games, they've scored over 30. They're averaging 32 points in their victories. In their losses, they haven't scored 20 points once. Not a single time. They've scored 9, and they've scored 14, and they've scored 13, and they've scored 16. They've never touched 20. If we hold them to 20 or less, we're going to win this football game. If they're approaching 30, we're probably going to lose this game. We don't want to get into a shootout with these guys. Hold them down. I've seen defenses suffocate this Raiders offense, especially when they don't have Darren Waller. He's the key to their offense. He unlocks everything. He's not playing. We should be able to dominate them defensively. And then finally, last key to the game, 3rd and Renfro, red zone defense, and Brian Johnson. Okay, that's the last key to the game. Third and Winfro, red zone defense, and Brian Johnson. So third and Winfro is a saying in Vegas. When it's third down, they're going to Hunter Winfro. Okay, it's not a secret. Everybody knows. They're going to the small white dude that can break you off and get open. We've had trouble with really slippery, shaky slot receivers this season. Add him to the list. Let's contain him. Treat him like he's Christian McCaffrey on third down. In and out him. Have a guy inside, have a guy outside. You know he's going to be in the slot. He's not an outside receiver, so you should be able to in and out him coverage-wise. You got him if he goes outside. If he breaks inside, I'll take him. He's the guy that, with no Darren Waller, that should be the focus on third down. Red zone defense. I just told you the Raiders need touchdowns. They need to score up over 20 to win. If you force them to kick field goals, they're not going to be able to string enough of those to beat us together. You know, if they got to kick 4 field goals, they score 1 touchdown, that's 19 points. That's not enough to beat us. Sorry, not sorry. But if you're giving up touchdowns, if they score 3 red zone touchdowns and they kick 2 field goals, that's 27 points. Now you're in trouble. Now you're in a dogfight. Let's limit them in the red zone and force them to settle for threes. That's what the teams that have beaten them this season and beaten them up good, that's what they've done. They've forced the Raiders either to turn it over, to not convert on 4th downs, or to settle for field goals. We can do the same. And then finally, we got another kicker. Here we go on this carousel, okay? We knew once we got rid of Dustin Hopkins, we were going to churn these things out, these kickers out. We had something going with Joey Sly. He's a sly guy. Doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo. He's not available, okay? And won't be probably for the next, few weeks. So they put him on IR, so that tells you he won't be available for at least the next 3 games. Brian Johnson is in. Cute story, just like the last kicker we had prior to Joey Sly, and Chris Blewett from the area, this, that. I don't give a shit about any of that. Chris Blewett was a likable dude from the area. He stunk. Brian Johnson has at least kicked in the league. So that gives me a little bit more confidence, but I don't know you. You're an outsider. Until you earn my respect, I'm looking at you with the side eye. Don't F this up. Brian Johnson, you're going to get some opportunities to kick. It's indoors. It's a controlled environment. Make your kicks. He's missed 3 extra points this season. Make your kicks. Those are the keys to the game, and that leads us to my final outcome for this game. I just think we're the better team, we're the hungrier team, we're the hotter team, we're the more confident football team, and I think we go to Vegas and we take care of business and set up a huge matchup next week versus Dallas. 30-20 is the final score here. Raiders hang tough. This isn't what it looks like. This isn't a blowout. It's 23-20 in the 4th quarter. And here comes one of those patented Washington put-away drives. With about 8 minutes left in the 4th quarter, we go on a 7-minute game-sealing, clock-draining drive to put the Raiders away and win this thing 30-20. So that's how I've reached my conclusion. What's yours? Score and more down in the comment section. Can't wait to hear what you think is going to happen in this game. Win, lose, or draw, we'll be here to break it down at the end of that game for Washington football overtime. So that's my prediction for the game. What is yours? Again, leave it down in the comment section. I got a couple of big notes. Next week, we're going to have an NFC East Super Friends here on the LouieTeeNetwork. You ask and you shall receive. Told you I had some big announcements. So that'll be Wednesday night, 8:30 p. Super Friends Unite. Should be an epic showdown, and we'll know what's going to happen. 5 NFC East games left on the docket for the Washington football team. We've got time to talk about all of them. Division may be up for grabs. Should be a fun discussion. We'll look back at what the predictions were before the season started and now where we are 13 now going on 14 weeks into the season. So NFC East Super Friends Unite here on the LouieTeeNetwork. Wednesday night, 8:30 p. Also, the other big nugget. Shout out to my guy, Trevor Patch, who is not going to be able to make it to the Cowboys game. He is a season tickets holder. He has excellent seats right behind Washington's bench. And he said, bro, I can't go. I'm donating these to the LouieTeeNetwork. And so Trevor Patch has set us up with some beautiful tickets. He's got gold passes. He's got parking passes. You've got access to the suites, all of that good stuff. I'll read you what he sent me so you know what you're getting yourself into. That means I'm giving up 2 tickets to paradise. Cowboys, Washington, week 14, December 12th. You got to be a member of the MOBB or a member of Patreon to be involved. If you are one of the two, you're going to be entered into this drawing. If you want to go, all you got to do is leave that hashtag. We'll talk more about it next week, but I wanted to drop that nugget right now on your melon. In any event, I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to our beloved Washington football team. Looking forward to this game. This is a big one, guys. We got to have it. We need it. Let's go out and get it. Okay? And for those of you, a Washington fan has already hit me up and said, hey, I'm going all the way across the U.S. to this game. 2,700 miles to see our boys. You know what it is. But I'm going to say it anyway. Bring home the dub.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.